Om Sadashiva Samparambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Asmadacharya Paryantam
Guru Parampara Om
Om
Sahana
Sahanavatu
मैं नहीं कराऊंगी बीमारी वाले एकदम जाओ
Tejasvinavati Samastu Ma Vidvishavahai
हो जाओ बिल्कुल
Om
जाओ कि मैं मेरे
Shanti
को हो जाएगा तो हो
Shanti
जाएगा हाँ तो कोई चीज हाथ नहीं लगाना और जाओ
That's whoever has got his mic open and somebody is screaming in the house, please put it off. Thank you so much. Okay, so we had finished verse number 2 and 7th chapter, of course. So we look at verse number 3. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Manushyanam sahasreshu
Manusyanam Sahasreshu
Kaschid yatati siddhaye
Kaschid Yatati Siddhe
Yatatamapi siddhanam
Yatatamamapi Siddhanam
Kaschin mam veti tatvataha.
Kaschimam Vedi Tataha.
Okay, so I'm just meeting all of you all. Now look at the words. Sahasreshu manushyanam. Sahasraha is 1,000. Sahasreshu, among thousands of human beings. Manushyanam, human beings. Kaschid yatati. Some people, some rare people, they yatati, they make an effort. For what? Siddhaye, for moksha. That is one statement. That among thousands of human beings, among the hundreds of thousands of human beings on this earth, very few people really make an effort for liberation, for moksha. Siddhanam api. So siddha here is, even among those seekers, yatatam kaschitaha, who are making efforts, kaschita vettimam. Few only get to know me. In what? Tatvataha, my real nature. So, Easwaran Jnanam is being talked about, and Krishna is saying that this Jnanam is very glorious and it is very rare, right? And what is a rarity? If everybody has it, it can't be rare. So, very few people have this, and so it's a very rare knowledge. Why is that so? Because most people are pursuing Artha Kama. Some of them also pursue Dharma, which means they pursue Punyam because they want higher lokas. So most of the people in this world, they are doing what? They are pursuing Artha Kama Dharma. Remember, among them, the third category, the people who pursue Dharma are also very few. Well, most of the people run only after Artha and Kama. Some of them also run after Dharma. The majority of people have Artha, Kama, Dharma as Purusharthas. And the number of people wanting Moksha Purushartha is very few. Even among them, those who want Moksha Purushartha, there are many paths, right? Majority of people who want Moksha don't know how to get it. So the people who understand that Ishvara Jnanam is the only way, they are also very, very few. So you will find that lots of people are trying lots of things for getting moksha. Some go and do yogasana, some go and do Kundalini yoga, some adopt the path of bhakti, some adopt the path of meditation. Everybody thinks there are various means of getting moksha, but there is only one method of getting Ishvara Jnanam. Ishvara Jnanam is no different from moksha. But people don't know that Ishvara Jnanam is moksha, and therefore they go on trying other methods. What is this moksha Jnanam method? That Krishna presented in the 4th chapter. In the 34th verse, he said, Tat vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. You have to go to a guru, you have to do seva, expose yourself to the teaching of the Shastram. The competent Acharya only can give you knowledge. Therefore, there are very few people who know that inquiry into Shastram is the only way. And some people have recognized the importance of the Shastra Vichara, but the majority do not understand. And therefore, the crux is that, the essence of this verse is that there are very, very few people who have this knowledge. Therefore, this is the rarest of wisdoms. So, rarest of knowledge. That's why Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu, among millions and millions of people, kaschid yatati. Some people strive in the correct way. And yatati here has to be taken as striving in the correct way, which means Guru, Shastra, Upadesha, Shravanam, they are doing. Exposing themselves to the scriptural teaching, that is called yatati over here. For what purpose? For attaining moksha, right? And ultimately, even among these people, and here the word that Krishna uses can create confusion because he says siddhanam api. So siddha means a person who is a jnani. Siddha is the one who has achieved the sadhyam. The sadhyam is moksha, and therefore siddha is the person who has got the sadhyam. So Shankara points out that here siddha has to be understood as sadhaka. Because if you take siddha as jnani, what will happen? Krishna will be saying that among the jnanis also, there are some people who are jnanis. So that's a contextual problem. So Shankara points out in his commentary that you should not take the literal meaning of siddha, you should take it as sadhaka. People who are correctly striving in the right direction, which means who are doing Shravanam, Maranam, Nididhyasanam under a competent teacher for a sufficient length of time. Among them also, kaschit mam vettihi, few people really gain the Ishvara Jnanam, tatvataha, in totality. In totality means what? Saguna Jnanam and Nirguna Jnanam. The Jnanam of Ishvara in both the higher nature and the lower nature. And therefore, we should note that these three verses, and in fact, Shankara mentions this in his Bhashyam, verse number 1, 2, and 3, are basically introducing the topic and telling us that it's a very rare jnana. And therefore, doing glorification. That Ishvara Jnanam is a rare jnanam. Okay, so what is the topic now in this chapter? The topic is Ishvara Jnanam. Ishvara Jnanam is Saguna and Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam. So that we saw in the last class, that he will tell us both Jnanam and Vijnanam. Saguna Jnanam and Nirguna Jnanam, both are included. And what is moksha? Claiming Nirguna Ishvara, Nirguna Brahman as myself, that is moksha. And therefore, this Saguna, Nirguna, Ishvara is the topic of the next Shatkam, that is chapter 6 to chapter 12. Okay. And Krishna says, this is the glory also, right? And glory of Jnanam is what? We have seen in Tattvabodha, total intellectual satisfaction. I will have no more questions about why Bhagavan created the world, why did he create problems like mosquitoes and cockroaches. All the whys in my life, they disappear. Total intellectual satisfaction is the phalam which comes out of the study of Shastram, of phalam which comes out of a proper understanding of Saguna Brahman as well as Nirguna Brahman. Now we look at the teaching now starts, right? These three are only introductory verses. And now the teaching really starts from verse number 4. So we will chant verse number 4. Please unmute yourself. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu khammano buddhirevacha
Mano buddhireva cha.
Ahankara iti yamme
Ahankara iti yamme.
Bhinna prakritirashtadha.
Bhinna prakriti rashta.
A very, very important verse. In fact, next verses are all very, very important. Now, let me first give you the simple meaning. Okay, so Bhumihi, Prithvi, Earth. So that word is, the first word is Bhumihi, Apaha, Analaha, Vayuhu. So Bhumihi, Prithvi, Apaha, water, Analaha, Agni, fire, Vayuhu, wind, air, Kham, space. Okay, what are they? Pancha Mahabhutani. First he has given the Pancha Mahabhutani, then Kham. So Kham can be taken as, no, then Manaha, sorry, Manaha. Manaha can be taken as the universal mind, Samashti Manaha. Buddhi can be taken as the universal Buddhi, Samashti intellect, Samashti Buddhi. And Ahankaraha can be taken as the I notion, which is again at the Samashti level. Okay, so that is the simple explanation. And he says, Iti ayam, this, iti ayam, this may prakriti vidhi. Know this as my nature, one of them. Okay. Therefore, and what? Ashtadha. Know this as my nature. Prakriti hi ashtadha, the last word of that particular verse. So, bhumi, that's Panchamahabhutanis plus 3. That is what? Mind, intellect, and ahankara. So if you look at the word bhumi, apaha, analaha, vayuhu, kham. This is 5 Panchamahabhutani. Mano, buddhi, cha ahankara. Right. So remember the first line ends with cha, but that is the meter. So you have to take it. The sentence is bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu, kham mano buddhireva cha ahankara. So those 8 pieces are there. 5 Panchabhutani, mind, intellect, and ahankara. There are 8 bits. And therefore he says prakriti rashtadha. He says itiyam me prakriti rashtadha. My nature is divided in 8 ways. Okay, my nature can be classified as 8. Okay, this is the central teaching. This will last for the next 9 verses up to verse number 12. And this can be taken as one of the most important portions of the Bhagavad Gita. And again, I'll remind you that Bhagavad Gita teachings are not Krishna's teachings. Krishna's personal teachings, they are not. They are all extraction from Shruti only, extraction from Upanishad only. So all the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, basically, though we say Krishna's teachings, they are all Shruti teachings. Teaching of Ishvara only. And to understand these verses, I'll briefly give you a summary, small summary of the Upanishadic teachings, which is nothing new for you because we've done it all again and again and again in the last 6 chapters. So Upanishads, the Shruti defines Ishvara as Jagat Karanam, the cause. Okay. If Ishvara is Karanam, what is the product? Is Jagat Karanam, we are saying. So Jagat is the product. Ishvara is the cause, the Karanam, and the universe, Jagat, is the product. So there is a relationship between Ishvara and Jagat. Karanam, Karyam. Karana, Karya Sambandha is there. Now, whenever you say product, remember that a product requires 2 different Karanams, 2 different causes. So when you say that I have a table in my house, the table is the product. There are 2 Karanams for that product. There are 2 causes for the product. What are they?
Upadana and Nimitta.
Upadana Karanam is what?
The material cause.
Material. And Nimittam?
Is the
intelligent cause.
intelligent.
Who is it?
The one who makes
Right. So for a table, you have wood as the material cause, as upadana karanam, and you have the carpenter as the intelligent cause, the nimitta karanam. Right. So any product requires two karanams, upadanam and nimitta karanam. Now, Shruti says again and again and again. The Upanishads say again and again and again. What do they say? Before Srishti, only Brahman existed, or only Atma existed. Before creation, only the creator existed. Right? And when you say Srishti, remember that the space is included and time is also included. When you say space, you are including time also. Why do we say that space is included in Srishti? Because you have to remember the Upanishad statements. First, from even Tattva, what is the first element to be born?
Akasha
Akasha.
Sambhut.
Akasha is space, right? So space is the first element to be born, and therefore before creation even space did not exist. And therefore in space we include time. Therefore before creation nothing existed, even space and time did not exist. And therefore this Ishvara, what is the Upadana Karanam or Nimitta Karanam? Obviously, since nothing else existed, both is Upadana and Nimitta, both Karanam, Ishvara has to be. Okay. Now, if you're making a statement that Ishvara is both Upadanam and Nimitta Karanam, both the material and the efficient cause, you have to make two statements. As the efficient cause, as the intelligent cause, Ishvara is the creator. As Nimitta Karanam, Ishvara is the Srishtikarta, the creator. As Upadana Karanam, Ishvara is the material of the universe. Ishvara is the very Upadana Karanam. So as Nimitta Karanam, Ishvara is Srishtikarta. As Upadana Karanam, Ishvara is the very Upadanam, the very material from which the world is created. It's difficult to accept this teaching for somebody who has not been exposed to it, because our normal view is what? That carpenter is different, wood is different, and a product is different. Upadanam and the Nimitta Karanams are distinct and different. So that's a general law, that the Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam have to be different. But there are exceptional cases. One is pointed out in Shruti itself, in Mundaka Upanishad. The spider. The web of the spider, for that web, the raw material is within the spider itself. So Upadana Karanam is also the spider. The creator of the web is also the spider. So in Sanskrit, we call it Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. Non-different, intelligent, and material cause. Abhinna, non-different, Nimitta, intelligent, Upadanam, material, Karanam, cause. So the spider is the non-different, intelligent, and material cause of the web. Similarly, Ishvara is the Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam for the universe. And what is the nature of such a Ishvara? So Krishna is pointing out in this chapter that this Ishvara consists of two principles. One is Para Prakritihi, the higher principle, the higher nature of Ishvara. One is Apara Prakritihi, the lower nature of Ishvara. And in our Shastram, in our Dharma Shastram, this is symbolized as Ardhanarishvara, the half man, half woman symbolism of Lord Shiva. Okay, so the two principles, as Para Prakriti and the higher principle, Apara Prakriti, are there in everywhere in our Shastra. Now, this Para Prakriti is a very, very important point. This Para Prakriti is the creator, right? The Nimitta Karanam. Para Prakriti is Nimitta Karanam. But very often you will find that Ishvara is referred to as simply as Upadana Karanam for Jagat. Now, if you don't want to bring Nimitta Karanam into the picture and you're looking only at Upadana Karanam, then Para Prakriti has to be viewed as some sort of a catalyst, right? In chemistry, you know that some reactions will not take place unless you add one more chemical. That chemical itself causes the reaction to start, but the chemical itself does not change. It's called a catalyst. Therefore, Para Prakriti can be taken as that catalyst, which is what? A non-changing material cause. And Apara Prakriti is the changing material cause. So you can look at it from this way also. You can of course say that Para Prakriti is instrument, Nimitta Karanam, and Apara Prakriti is the material cause, Upadana Karanam. But another way of looking is Para Prakriti is non-changing material cause, again Upadana Karanam. To differentiate that from Apara Prakriti changing material cause, what do you say? You say Para Prakriti is Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Vivarta is non-changing. So Para Prakriti can be called Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Apara Prakriti is called Parinami Upadana Karanam, the changing cause. And this mixture of the Vivarta Upadana Karanam and the Parinami Upadana Karanam, the mixture of the non-changing cause and the changing material cause, non-changing material cause, changing material cause, this is the creator of the universe. Okay. Why do we say this? Because each part must contribute something to be eligible to be classified as part of the creation, part of the creator. Each of these parts must contribute something, right? Parinami Upadana Karanam contributes what? Nama and Rupa. The form and the name, they come from Parinami Upadana Karanam. What does Vivarta Upadana Karanam contribute? Para Prakriti. What does it contribute? It contributes Sat, Chit and Ananda. And therefore the entire creation consists of 5 things. Sat, Chit, Ananda, Nama, Rupa. We saw this in which text?
Vedanta Sara.
Vedanta.
Dridrishya Viveka.
Vedanta Sara.
Dridrishya Viveka.
Dridrishya. There are specific verses there which says the 5 aspects. The first 3 are Satchitananda, they belong to Brahman. The last 2 Namarupa, they belong to the world. Okay, that we remember, this is being repeated. Nothing is new ever. Okay, everything we have already got. We are just being reminded. Now, so these 2 things, Vivarta Upadana Karanam and Parinami Upadana Karanam, there are some features which are common and some features which are not common. In fact, there's only one feature which is common to both of them, and there are uncommon features also. So now again, rather than confuse you, Para Prakriti is Parinami Upadana, is Vivarta Upadana Karanam, is basically, another name is Brahman. Okay, Nirguna Brahman. Now, Parinami Upadana Karanam, Apara Prakriti, another name is Maya. So you have Brahman and Maya put together is Ishvara. That's why I said Vivarta Upadana Karanam plus Parinami Upadana Karanam is Ishvara. Para Prakriti plus Apara Prakriti also Ishvara. All different names, same concept. What is the common feature between the 2? Both are beginningless principles. Both are Anadihi and both are Nityaha. They are eternal. They cannot be destroyed. So neither Para Prakriti nor Apara Prakriti can be created or destroyed. Both of them are free of creation and free of destruction. This is the common feature. Two common features you can say. One is free of creation. Two is free of destruction. Anadihi nityaha are the common features for Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. Now, what are the differences? Paraprakriti is Chetana Tattvam, conscious principle. Consciousness, of course, you know, can never be created or destroyed. Aparaprakriti is Achetana Tattvam, inert principle, Jada, matter principle. Again, you know, matter can never be created, nor can it ever be destroyed. It can only change form. Therefore, consciousness can never be created or destroyed. Matter can never be created or destroyed. This mixture of consciousness and matter alone is called Easwaran. Okay. Number two, consciousness by itself has no attributes, no gunas at all. And therefore, consciousness is called Nirguna Chaitanya, Para Prakriti. But Apara Prakriti has got forms and names. So Apara Prakriti is Saguna Swarupam, Para Prakriti is Nirguna Swarupam. So Apara Prakriti has got physical properties, chemical properties, biological properties, and therefore every single science, because all these properties are available to your Indriyas. They are all Indriya Gocharam. Therefore, all studies, all sciences can only study Apara Prakriti because science needs data to study. Data is available from where? Only from your five sense organs. Five sense organs can perceive only Apara Prakriti, and therefore science can study only Apara Prakriti. Para Prakriti has no properties, is Indriya Agocharam, cannot be picked up by the Indriyas, and therefore no data is available. Therefore, Apara Prakriti, therefore Para Prakriti, consciousness, is never available for scientific study. You cannot have somebody doing a research on Brahman to find out what Brahman is. Okay. So number three, this Para Prakriti is free from all modifications, free from Shadvikara in our Tattvabodha language. It never undergoes any change. Whatever the condition is, it never undergoes any change. Any change which occurs in this universe is only at the level of Apara Prakriti, matter alone. Your body can change, your brain can change, your mind can change. Everything is at the level of Apara Prakriti. Therefore, Para Prakriti is Nirvikara Tattvam, without modification. Apara Prakriti is Savikara Tattvam, subject to modifications. And that is represented in the image of Nataraja. That's hair, which is at a parallel to the floor. It represents the dance, the eternal dance of creation, which indicates that material is constantly changing. Maya is constantly changing. Then the fourth one, important one again, Para Prakriti is Satyam, independently existing, conscious principle. Apara Prakriti is Jadam, dependent, inert, dependent upon the consciousness principle. Therefore, Para Prakriti is independent, Apara Prakriti is dependent. A dependent principle is always called Mithya, and therefore Apara Prakriti is Mithya. And these two put together is Ishvara. Is Ishvara alone is the cause of the creation. Okay. Now, this creation process is presented here in two stages. First, like a plant coming out of a seed. First stage is there. And then the plant becomes a full-fledged tree That is the second stage. So you can say these two stages are there. And again, here, if you look at the words are taken from Sankhya philosophy. Okay, Sankhya Darshanam. Kapila Muni is the author of Sankhya Darshanam. He had presented certain methods of certain process of creation in his Sankhya Darshanam. And this creation comes in two stages. The first stage is Para Prakriti. The second stage is Apara Prakriti. And so here, first comes the Para Prakriti, and then comes the Apara Prakriti. That Apara Prakriti multiplies into 8 different pieces, which is what he means by Ashtada Apara Prakriti. What happens to Para Prakriti? Nothing happens, because Para Prakriti cannot undergo modification. It's free of Shadvikara. Therefore, Brahman remains the same. The material aspect, Atma alone, multiplies into Ashtada. Okay. So, how many factors are there? 8 Apara Prakriti and 1 Para Prakriti. 9 factors are there. Okay. Then what happens? Then this Shastra says, Akashat Vayuhu. From Akasha, Vayu has come. So before that, from Maya, Akasha comes. Then Akasha Vayuhu. Vayor Agnihi. From Vayu, Agni comes. Agner Apaha. From Agni, water comes. Adhya Prithvihi. From water, earth comes. Prithivyam Oshadayaha. From the Prithvi, plants come. Oshadabhyo Annam. From the plants are born grains, Annam, food. Annat Purushaha. From food comes the Jiva, the Purushaha. Right? So, there is a eightfold Apara Prakriti, which is the matter principle, which is the basic principle behind the 5 elements. And now Krishna is talking about Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham, 5 elements. Remember here, he is not talking about the post Panchikarana Sthula Panchamahabhutani. He is not talking about the gross elements which come after Panchikaranam. So I am using these terms because I am taking for granted that all of you all have gone through Tattva Bodha, and more importantly, you remember Tattva Bodha. Okay, those words, there is no time to explain in this class. So I'm just saying, post Panchikaranam, Thula Panchabhutani comes. He is not referring to that. He is referring to pre-Panchikaranam, which is Sukshma Panchamahabhutani. Another name for it is what?
Tanmatra.
Tanmatras. Tanmatras, remember, simply means Tat Matraha, that only. That only means only the elements without the process of combination, without the process of Panchikaranam. Therefore, when Krishna says Bhumihi, he means Bhumihi Tanmatra, the subtle Bhumihi. And if you want to understand this, one way you can think of it is to associate it with the relative guna. Right? What is the guna of Bhumi? Specific to Bhumi, not all the 5 gunas.
Gandha.
Gandha. And while you say that Bhumi has 5 gunas, remember that only Gandha is specific to Bhumi. Why are the other 4 mentioned? Because they are borrowed from the other 4 elements during Panchikaranam. Okay. So here, if you want to think of Sukshma Bhumihi, you can think of the relative guna, which is Gandha. That is a Tanmatra. Similarly, Rasa is a Tanmatra for water. Rupa is Tanmatra for Agni. The sense of touch, Tvak, is Tanmatra for Vayu. And Shabdaha is tanmatra for akasha, which Krishna calls kham in this in this verse. Okay, so 5 subtle elements he talks about. Now comes the interesting part. He talks about kham, manaha, and buddhi, right? So these 3 principles are based on the Sankhya terminology. So you should understand it as some sort of intermediate state of matter. For all technical words, manaha here, though we are saying mind, is a technical word. It is not mind. Buddhi is not intellect and not even ahankara. All these are Sankhya jargon. Okay, so that is what I am trying to explain. So we have got manaha, mahat, ahankara, and the mahat. When I say mahat, it means buddhi. Okay, buddhi is called mahat in Sankhya. So manaha, mahat, ahankara, and pancha mahabhutani, 3 plus 5, 8 principles are the first stage of apara prakriti. Remember, this is what sukshma stage. The universe has not come into being. Our physical bodies have not come into being. This is all the tanmatra stage. So he says, bhinna prakritihi ashtadha. This is my apara prakriti in its primary form, in its sukshma form. Bhinna means divided into, ashtadha, 8-fold. So this kind of teaching is called a prakriya, a teaching model. So this is Srishti Prakriya. It teaches us about creation. So this Srishti Prakriya is found in a lot of places. Okay, for example, in Chandogya Upanishad, this disciple is Ketu, and the guru is Uddalaka. So Uddalaka tells Ketu, in the beginning there was only Sat. Okay, and in the teaching he mentions only 3 elements. Which are they? Apaha, Agnihi, Prithvi. Now remember, out of the 5 elements, there are 3 elements which have got form. Water, fire, earth. Apa, Agni, Prithvi. Therefore, in Chandogya, the teacher mentions only the 5 elements with form. Murta Bhutani. The Amurta Bhutani, the elements without form, Vayu and space, he doesn't mention. So there are many such disparities, and when you study Upanishads, you will know that Shankaracharya says that this is because Upanishad is not very particular about teaching you creation. Why? Because creation has to be finally dismissed as mithya, and therefore where it is Tatparyam of the Shruti, you will find there is consistency. Tatparyam of Shruti is only Brahman. So in Brahman statements, you will find there is consistency all over the Upanishads, all over the Veda. But in non-Brahman statements, which is not the Tatparyam, you will find a lot of differences are there. The purpose is to show what everything emerged from that one Sat alone, from that one Brahman alone. And therefore he says, Ketu, that Sat Vastu is Atman. And again I'll repeat, it is important to remember that the objective of even Srishti Prakriya, even the creation teaching models, the object of the creation teaching models in Shastram is not to teach you creation. The objective is very simple, to show that nothing exists other than Brahman. That whatever I am teaching you, ultimately you have to dismiss the name and form and come to the essence, which is Brahman. That is the ultimate objective of any prakriya. And so there are many teaching models. Many you have heard of. One is Avastatrayam. You will find that in Mandukya. All that is, that was, all that is, and all that will be is Omkara. So there is Omkara with A representing Jagat, U representing Swapna, and Ma representing Sushupti. And finally, the Upanishad says all these 3, that is Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, they are not different from the 4th state, which is Chaturtha state, Turiam, which is nothing else than you, the consciousness principle. So remember, this consciousness principle is not in between the two states, but it is something which is the very substratum of the three states. And therefore, if you look at Vishwa, Tejasa and Prajna, you will find that those are consciousnesses. But this Brahman principle, it pervades the three avasthas. It pervades Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna, all of them, right? And yet is independent of all the three. So that consciousness principle is the substratum, the adhishthanam of all the three avasthas, but it doesn't change. It is beyond any modification by the avasthas. Then in Taittiriya Upanishad, you got Panchakosha Vivekaha. Analysis at the 5 levels of your personality. Start from Annamaya Kosha, goes on towards Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. Then it comes to the Anandamaya Kosha. It talks about 3 different types of sukhams, Priya, Moda, Pramoda, etc. But ultimately, he says, all this, everything that is present in and through all this is only you, Ananda, which is Brahman. Right? Why am I explaining all this? Because the classification which we are doing now is based on the Sankhya model. And you may know that Sankhya model has 24 tattvams, 24 principles. So if you look at the Excel sheet, the chart I sent you yesterday, you will see that the first item is Avyaktam. So Avyaktam is also called, Avyaktam is the name given in Sankhya. We can think of it as Moola Prakriti, the main Prakriti. Then Mahat. Mahat is another name used in Sankhya. Our equivalent is Buddhi, Samashti Buddhi, universal intellect. Then there is Samashti Ahankaraha, universal Ahankaraha. So these are the causes. From Avyaktam comes Mahat. Avyaktam is the cause, Mahat is the product. From Mahat is the cause, Ahankara is the product. From Ahankara, 2 things come according to Sankhya. Remember the Sankhya philosophy, so there's a clash between Vedanta and Sankhya. Don't get confused. From Samashti Ahankara first comes Pancha Sukshma Bhutani, the Tanmatras. And simultaneously, from Samashti Ahankara, the mind, Manaha, and Dasha Indriyani, the 10 organs come. Okay. On the right hand side of the chart was Pancha Sukshma Bhutani, that is the 5 subtle elements. On the left hand of the chart were 11 things, 10 Indriyas, 10 sense organs plus mind, 11. So Avyaktam is Karanam for Mahat. Mahat is Karanam for Samashti, Ahankara. Ahankara is Karanam for not only Mana and Indriyas, that is Karanam for these 11 things, mind plus 10 sense organs, but also Karanam for Pancha Sukshma Mahabhutani, which is Tanmatras, 5 subtle elements. Now, Tanmatras, these 5 subtle elements are Karanam for 5 gross elements, Pancha Sthula Bhutani. So, yesterday you did a calculation and you found that Avyaktam, Mahat, Samashti, Pancha Mahabhutani, that is Sukshma Mahabhutani, they are all in one line. So you should note that there is a difference in this idea from the idea of Vedantic creation. In Sankhya, this Dasha Indriyani are born from where? From Samashti Ahankara. Also, Sukshma Panchabhutani are born from Samashti Ahankara. Right? But in Vedantic creation, in Tattva Bodha, the sense organs are born from where?
Sukshma Bhutani.
Sense organs are born from Sukshma Bhutani. Okay. So remember the difference. There's a difference. Don't get confused. So we are talking about the Sankhya creation. Now, if there is such a wide difference, why does Krishna borrow Sankhya Srishti? Because there is a basic difference in the very creation process itself. So why does Krishna borrow this? So Shankara says it doesn't matter. Why does it not matter?
Because the main focus is not on the creation process, but the Tatparyam is
Exactly.
no.
So it doesn't matter because ultimately all Srishti is going to be dismissed as Mithya. Okay. Now you count all these tattvams. There are 24 of tattvams over there. Of these, as I said yesterday, 8 principles, 8 tattvams are the karanam for other tattvams. What are they? Avyaktam, Mahat, Ahankara, and 5 Pancha Sukshma Bhutani, Tanmatras. Tanmatras plus Avyaktam, Mahat, Ahankara, these are karanams. While there are 16 of them, Manaha, Dashendriyani, and Pancha Sthula Manaha and Dashendriyani are 11. The gross physical elements are 5. So 11 plus 5, 16 elements are not karanam for anything else. Nothing is born out of them. Right? I didn't want the confusion to take place. That's why I gave it yesterday. I hope you all have gone through the discussion in the group. In Sankhya, these 8 tattvams, these 8 principles, Avyaktam, Mahat, Ahankara, and the 5 Sukshma Bhutanis, they are called Prakriti in Sankhya. All the principles which have the nature of cause, have the nature of karanam, they are called Prakriti in Sankhya. Those 16 tattvams which are not the cause of any other tattvam, they are called Vikriti. So you would have heard these names, Prakriti, Vikriti. Prakriti means those principles out of the 24, 8 of them, which give rise to other principles. And 16 of them don't give rise to any other principles. They are called Vikriti. Okay. Now, so far clear? I hope I'm not confusing anybody. And if you're confused, then you should go back and make a chart. Okay. Because it's important. Now, so we have 2 sets, 8 items called Prakriti, 16 items called Vikriti, total 24 tattva principles of Sankhya. The first principle is Avyaktam. This is called Moola Prakriti. So these 8 principles, Prakriti of Sankhya, is what Krishna calls Para Prakriti. Okay. Avyaktam, Apara Prakriti. Avyaktam, Mahat, Ahankara, Pancha Sukshma Bhutani, they are what Krishna calls Apara Prakriti. He says Bhinna Prakriti Ashtada. He does not say Apara here. You have to go to the next verse to understand that. He says there is something more which is Para. And therefore, this is Apara Prakriti. You get this Apara Prakriti by inference. Because in the next verse he says, I will tell you about Para Prakriti. Okay. So this 8, Avyakta, Mahat, Ahankara, and the 5 Sukshma Bhutanis, they are the Apara Prakriti. They are all Parinami Upadana Karanam. Changing material cause. All are inert in nature. All are Jadam in nature. That is why I discussed about Parinami and Vivartopadana Karanam. All these 8, the Prakriti of Sankhya, the Apara Prakriti of Krishna, are Parinami Upadana Karanam. All of them are inert in nature. And what is Para Prakriti? Para Prakriti is consciousness alone. Vivarta Upadana Karanam, which is of the nature of Chetanam, consciousness alone. But in this sloka, in this fourth sloka, Krishna is talking about 8 factors called apara prakriti. Okay. Now, we may not notice, right? But a very, very serious student who does analysis will notice one main thing. What is that?
In this shloka, Acharya ji, Manaha is mentioned, whereas in the table which you sent yesterday, the Avyaktam Mahat Ahankara and Pancha Sukshma Bhutani were the Karanam. Whereas here in this shloka, Manaha is also included in that Ashtadha.
Okay, good. So, Krishna in this sloka does not mention Avyaktam at all. Mula Prakriti is not mentioned. And as you said, he includes Manaha as the Prakriti, right? What is Prakriti? I said Prakriti is the element which is a Karanam for some other element. But if you look at the chart I sent you, Sankhya falls under the other section, Vikriti, because from the Manaha, no other Tattvam is born in the Sankhya list. And therefore, there are 2 problems. One is that Krishna does not mention Avyaktam, and the other is that he includes Manaha under Vikriti. So, mind should not be included, but Krishna includes. Avyaktam should be included, but Krishna excludes. What is the understanding? So, the commentator here is Madhusudana Saraswati. He wrote a book which we discussed in the very beginning of Bhagavad Geeta. What is the name of that?
Gudartha Deepika.
Gudartha Deepika. So, in that commentary, he says that Manaha you cannot take as the Vachyartham. The direct dictionary meaning of Manaha you should not take. Vachyartham is of course the mind. He says you should take Lakshyartham, the implied meaning of Manaha, and the Lakshyartham of Manaha he says is Avyaktam. So Krishna has actually included Manaha, Avyaktam under the heading of Manaha. Okay. What is the logic? Avyaktam is the ultimate cause of everything, which includes the mind. And therefore, if you look at the context and you find that mind is not included here, I mean, Avyaktam is not included here, but mind is included separately, you have to draw appropriate conclusion and say that the product can refer to the cause, and therefore the mind, the product, should be taken as Avyaktam, the cause. Therefore, Krishna's usage of the term mind over here has to be taken as Avyaktam. Okay. So, Manaha Buddhireva Ahankara. In that 3 words, the Manaha represents the Avyaktam. Okay. Now, Bhumihi, we said, represents the Tanmatra Bhumihi, not Sthula Bhumihi. What is the logic? Krishna calls it Prakriti. Prakriti means what? Prakriti means the Sankhya Prakriti, which has a cause. And therefore, it cannot be the Sthula Bhumi, right? Because Sthula Bhumi has no more further karyams, products. And therefore, it has to be Sukshma Bhumi, which is one of the causes of Sthula Bhumi, right? Therefore, Sthula Bhumi would have been in Vikriti category, but here, because it is Prakriti, it has to be Tanmatra only. It has to be subtle Bhumi. And because of the same logic, the other Pancha Mahabhutas, Apaha, Anala, Vayuhu, come, they are also Tanmatras. Okay. Now I said that Madhusudana Saraswati, he told us that you take Manaha as Avyaktam. Okay. What does Shankara say? Shankara says that Manaha should be taken as Ahankara. Okay. So here let us note that Shankara says that Manaha should be taken as Ahankaraha. How? Again, Lakshyartham. Because mind is a product of ahankara. In the Sankhya chart, if you see, manaha is born from ahankara. Shankara says, look at the Sankhya chart. The whole thing is about Sankhya only. Look at the Sankhya chart. That mind is born from ahankara. A product can be taken as the cause itself because it's non-different from the cause. And therefore, this manaha you take as ahankara. And then he says, buddhi refers to mahat of Shankha. And what type of mahat? Mahat, which is the cause of the ahankara. So, now, what happens in that case, if you have taken manaha as ahankara, it's a bit confusing, right? If you have taken manaha as ahankara according to Shankaracharya, but there is a manaha already here. There is ahankara already here in the sloka. What does that mean? Shankara says the ahankara in this sloka cannot mean ahankara. Why so? Because I have said that manaha is ahankara. Therefore, how can ahankara mean ahankara? Therefore, ahankara in this sloka should mean avyakta. Okay. Different ways, but both the people have explained the missing words. So Shankara says ahankara means avyaktam because ahankara is born from avyaktam. Okay. Any confusion so far?
So Acharya ji, if that is so, then what happens to the Vikiriti part of the 16, the manaha, if manaha is considered as either ahankara or avyaktam, then what happens to that? What comes there?
No, he explained. We are talking only about manaha and ahankara. He explained both. Manaha is what? According to Shankara. Manaha is ahankara. Ahankara is what? Ahankara is avyaktam. Avyaktam was not included by Krishna. And therefore that has to be covered.
Okay,
Right.
so that means manaha is also ahankara and manaha.
No.
Otherwise, it will not be 24 elements.
It is. It is the 24 elements. You count it. There is no difference in the counting. Manaha is to be taken as ahankara. Ahankara should be taken as avyaktam. And therefore 25 elements are still there. Okay, I knew this would confuse you. That's why I give a chart in the beginning. Now, with the explanation which you have today from this class, you sit down with the chart and then work out. So, whenever you say ahankara here, it is a gauna prayoga. This is a figurative usage for avyakta. There is only one main thing which we must point out here before we end the class. The prakriti of Sankhya is not the same as the prakriti of Vedanta. Why?
Vedantic one is para and Sankhya one Prakriti is apara.
Anybody else? Why can you not equate Sankhya Prakriti with Vedanta Prakriti?
Is it because of Dvaita, Advaita, Acharya?
That's to general answer. Specific answer?
Okay.
You're close, you're getting close. Okay.
Because the Nimitth Karan is not included in Sankhya Prakriti. Avyaktam is taken as the Karanam for everything.
No. The basic difference is that in Sankhya there is, and this you must remember, right? In no other darshanam, out of the 12 darshanams, only one darshanam has the concept of mithya. And unless you constantly remember this, there will always be a gap in our understanding. Therefore, the prakriti of Sankhya is satyam for them. The prakriti of Vedanta, Maya, is mithya for us. There can be no direct equation at all.
Om Acharya ji. So
Yes.
then why is Krishna using the Sankhya philosophy over here if it is not to, if it is
That's a good question, but Krishna is not around to ask. That is why we have these people who reconcile. Both Shankara and Madhusudana, they are reconciled because of the fact that Sankhya. But you remember that second chapter, what is it called?
Sankhya.
Sankhya Yoga.
Okay.
There is a very heavy influence of Sankhya concepts in Vedanta because it helps to explain. And that is there. Krishna has used these. And wherever there is a disparity, where there is a discordance, we necessarily need to look at the commentators. See, the normal class, for those of you who have joined, let us say, B3 or VG, all those classes, we don't explain this. But this class, is a very special class, this BG5, because and I thank all of you all for giving me the opportunity, right? I never thought I would, because Shankara Bhashyam classes we cannot teach. For one very simple reason, Shankara Bhashyam classes require thorough knowledge of Sanskrit. And therefore, the next best thing is to teach a Shankara Bhashyam based class, which is what BG5 is. And therefore, the depth of discussions are much more deeper than in the normal BG class. And for that, I have to thank all of you all because you have blessed me by letting me be able to actually study Shankara Bhashyam and teach and extract and teach. So the class is a very big blessing for me. And therefore, in Shankara Bhashyam class, all these details will be there. If you have studied Shankara Bhashyam class properly, then when you read the sloka, everything should be burnt into your brain. What does Krishna mean by saying kham, by saying manaha, by saying ahankaraha? There will be no confusion at all. That is why the extra explanations. And that is going to be more and more now because this is the Jnanam portion. So Shankara talks a lot in his Bhashyam. And therefore you will find that sometimes we go on talking for no reason, not for no reason. Shankara talks like that. So that I wanted to convey the essence. And that's why this great discussion about the effect of Sankhya, how it should be reconciled.
Thank you, Acharya. But then there's another question. If we, when we are saying that the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita is an essence of the Upanishad, so is essentially Bhagavad Gita also taking the Sankhya philosophy to explain what the Vedas are saying? Because Sankhya portion cannot be part of the Vedas, is it?
Why not? Is Sankhya, does it accept the Vedas or not?
Yes,
It
it
does.
is Darshana.
See, there are all different commentators who give you complete, in fact, if you look at the three major streams of philosophy, Dvaita, right? Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. All three are what? They are Vedic philosophy. All three are the same Upanishads. All three are different interpretations.
Hmm.
And therefore,
Okay.
for a proper student, what to do is you study all the three and then decide which is the one which appeals to you the most. We will say only Advaita. But you might find people, in fact, there are lots of people, right? There are whole, what they call, streams of devotees who do not accept Advaita. They cannot accept the fact that Shruti says that you are the same as the Lord. They would rather believe that I am part of the Lord. And therefore, Vishishta Advaita strain is there. Most of the what they call movements in India, if you see, religious movements, they have this state that you are part of the Lord and you will go and merge with Him. Then there are others, of course, who say that you are not part of the Lord, you are just a devotee, so you have to go and sit at the lap. That is Dvaita. You have to decide intellectually which satisfies you the best. For me, it's very clear. Why should I be part of something when I can be the whole? So for me, there is no doubt which is correct. But that need not be the same for everybody, right? Everybody has right to their own opinions. And nothing can be imposed upon you. If in your heart you feel that no, I can only be part of the Lord, then you will find it. You will find that Vishishta Advaita appeals to you. So
But
that way.
So I think that's part of the evolution, because it is often said that from Dvaita one goes to Vishishta Advaita, and then finally Advaita is the only thing which explains everything logically.
That is the evolution intellectually. You cannot
Right.
say that I was part first and I will become whole. The part can never become the whole.
Right.
So evolution in understanding, yes. That first I come as a in Karma Kanda, what is it? It is Dvaita only, right? You are
Yes.
worshipping the Lord. Karma Kanda starts with Dvaita.
Thank you, Acharya.
But Acharya,
Yes, ma'am.
all our contemplations, right? The darshanas. But end of the day, essence is the Veda. But the Veda is talking about only Advaita, right?
No. The same Veda can be interpreted as to say Advaita, to say Dvaita, to say Vishishta Advaita. So I'm saying these other darshanas, they use the same mantras, but they give it a completely different, breakup. Understand? The same mantras. See, Sanskrit, is a language where just by breaking the word differently, you can get a different meaning. A combined word can be broken differently to give different meanings. So those sort of tricks are used.
So keeping the different view and meaning aside, if the true meaning of the Veda, isn't it Advaita, Acharya? The essence.
According to us, there is only one Brahman. There's only one Brahman, that is all there is. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That is what is our Advaitic theory. And therefore, for us, that is the true meaning. And according to me, that is the only meaning that you can see. Anything other than you are Brahman cannot give you moksha. Because moksha is equated to Brahman, right? Only if you are Brahman, you are free from all problems in life. The world will not touch you only if you are Brahman, because world is Mithya and you are Satyam. Any other interpretation you give is Satyam only. All other interpretations, that's why I said only Advaita has got Mithya. All other interpretations have got Satyam. For the Dvaitic, what they call devotee, Ishvara is Satyam, he is also Satyam. For the Vishishta devotee, he as a part of Ishvara is Satyam, Ishvara is Satyam. Both are Satyams. So how can a part ever become a whole? So there is never any moksha. And therefore, for a Advaitic, the body-mind complex is mithya. The whole world is mithya. Nothing can touch you. That is why, that is called moksha. The understanding that the world cannot touch me at all, that is moksha. Definition of me is very important.
Thank you.
Okay, I will leave you all to contemplate on this. Okay, thank you for your patience. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om Om.